He has designed scores of offices, residences, libraries, and even temples. But he shot to fame when he was chosen as the best among many other architects from around the world for designing the Renaissance artist Botticelli's house. His studio of 15 years, RECRO KARDO, is rated as one of the best India has and is currently engaged in designing the Center for World Peace, the Jain Temple in Ayodhya. Come, let's meet this man whose passion is to design spaces and not just places. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the world-renowned architect, Mr. Rajat Kumar.
There was once a sculptor who was making somewhere around a 200 feet statue. So the moment the statue was almost done, I mean everything was done in that statue, and it was just carving out the eye, which would be, kept at that kind of a height, when he decided that he has to make another one and discard this one. So a person who was observing this guy day in and day out asked him, why are you doing another statue? You're already done with one. He said, no, there is a small mistake I made while chipping out the eye, carving the eye of the statue. So I have to start another one. To which this person said, but that is so far, the world will not even know it. And this artist says, but I know it. So it is my privilege to introduce to you to an artist. I would say an artist because he's an architect by profession, but nothing less than works of art that he creates. And I have known him for over 2 decades, and in my knowledge, we have a genius with us in the name of Rajat Kumar, who represents RECRO KARDO, which means finding the axis. That's what your studio is, Rajat.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being with us over here today. Ladies and gentlemen, you must listen to this wonderful architect, how he adds passion to his entire creations and how he creates meaningful architecture. Thank you so much, Rajat.
Thank you, Sudarshan. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. And your words always inspire me more than what I can do.
No, I have actually known that way, I have seen you grow over in so many years, and you are actually a genius. I know the kind of designs that you have come up with and all. So how's it going, and what is the state of the studio? What are the projects that you're working on? How has the journey been, and what has inspired you most in your journey? Why did you decide to be an architect? Let's start from there.
So it came to me. I was studying as an to be an engineer out of school, preparing for engineering exams, but it really bored the hell out of me. So one of my teachers suggested, why don't you go for architecture? So I of course knew about it, but had not paid attention. So I started going to a neighbor's office for a year, and I really loved it at that time. Ever since then, from studying to practicing, it is like I've been very lucky to find my vocation so early on. I didn't have to struggle, and it comes very, very naturally to me. I always say that for me, my profession is a journey to find myself. It is finding myself through architecture that is, the journey been.
So, and why RECRO KARDO? Why the name RECRO KARDO?
So RECRO KARDO, translated from Latin, means reviving the axis. So we as architects, when we are going anywhere, so doing something anywhere, there's a pre-existing environment. So either we can add to it, develop it, give it something which perhaps it has lost or at what it wants to be, or completely forget it and do what we want. Reviving the axis looks at not forgetting, seeing what is there, and then to revive the relationship that is perhaps lost between the pre-existing environment and where it wants to be. So it is reviving the axis, the relationship between what is there and what ought to be.
So do you actually mean, if I have understood it correctly, that every environment is actually a perfect environment the way it was supposed to be, and you as an architect or somebody coming to construct a house or a commercial or a residence or a building or anything, or it could be an art installation, you're only chipping out the rough edges of that environment and keeping that spirit alive. How do you add to it so that it doesn't lose its original charm, what it was supposed to have?
Yeah, I'll put a little bend to it.
Yeah.
It is whatever is existing is perhaps not perfect, but has the capacity to become perfect, and we must help to make it perfect, to help it reach there rather than destroy it. So it is, we want to reach the potential. So be it, as I was telling you earlier, so there is a design triad philosophy.
Yeah, I was about to come to that. So
yeah.
what is that design triad that you practice?
Any design that anyone is making, and not only us, there are three, I think, primary key role players. One is the place itself, the site which tells that what it wants to become. Then it is the client, their vision, their brief, what they have thought that it ought to be. And third is whatever thing is happening in our mind, what we want to do. So it's a play of chemistry of these three elements which make the design. And everywhere, of course, one sort of overtakes the other, but it has to be respected to all three. If all three come together, the project reaches almost perfection to reach. It attains what it must.
I also find a lot of things, like a lot of conventional architects that I have come across and I have seen over the years. What exactly is Indian architecture? Because what we see, is that Indian what is happening now, or what happened through the centuries, was that Indian? How would you place that?
So architecture is always representative of the culture of the time and where it is heading to. So very simple answer to this is, to anybody who's looking for styles and things, what Indian means to you today is what Indian architecture is. If it values traditions and looking at innovations and going ahead towards the future, which has not been done before, that is Indian. So there will be some basic core things inside which comes from the nature of the place, the culture of the place, and then it goes, but does not tie down to either tradition or anti-tradition. So whatever we are as Indians, where we feel like we are Indians and we are doing varied things, that is where architecture comes out. It represents us. It represents, represents the society.
So what, if I gather correctly and if I'm able to put it in the right words, what Mr. Rajat is trying to say is, viewers, whatever you correspond to with your heart and what you feel is the need of the art that you want to do for your own space, I think that is what is conventional and that is what will define the future as well.
Yeah.
Right?
So we look at what people are saying, because they are a very important part of the design triad. So when I said it's finding myself through architecture, we actually help our clients also find what they're looking at.
You had also said something really amazing, and I have always felt this, being an artist myself, that intuitions play a very huge role in any kind of art, whether it is a performance art or whether it is something like architecture or painting or music or anything. So how can one build that intuition? How do you practice that? Because clients may or may not have intuition, but you as an architect, when you are serving them, how do you practice that?
It is a very, very important question. And actually, not only the profession, even the clients, we are suffering through loads of information. Whenever we are looking at designs, we look at hundreds of examples before, and we lose what is meant for us. So intuition is and it comes in an instant. We've heard that we receive more than 60,000 thoughts in a day. And as soon as I've realized, whenever there is a design conversation, I would not say a problem, there's an introductory brief, design flashes through your head.
Yeah.
And if you are able to capture it, then it is phenomenal. Then there are practices and methods to do that, and that is where one is evolving. I won't say
anything that you would bring to light for all the young architects who are listening to you at the moment, how they can practice intuition?
So I would say for some people it would be sketches, for some people it would be playing with models, some people something. So find your medium of expression which works for you and capture the initial first thoughts. Then everything will serve around it.
So what are the kind of works that you've done? I would like to talk about so many works that I've seen. The Dronacharya library, that is my favorite. And then the hotel at Guna that you are building. It's the first ever time that something has been bought by and endorsed by a brand also over there. And that library actually blows me to pieces each time I look at the design.
So one of my favorite projects has been the work for Dronacharya College of Engineering. It's the library, the boardrooms that we did there. And of course this Hotel Guna that you have mentioned, it was the first property which attracted a brand to come and invest in the city. And
the school in Meerut also that you
Meerut Public School have been very, very dear friends and clients of mine. So we recently did a play school development for them.
And he's also developing a Mandir in Ayodhya, a Jain Mandir in Ayodhya,
So
right?
So that's dedicated to 101 sons of Lord Rishabdev. It's supposed to be a world peace center, and that is what we're developing. Coming out of the phenomenal
really
design.
Amazing project. That is really amazing. And I would like to also announce that I saw him enter a competition which he won in the world. It was if Botticelli ever had a house for himself, how would that house look like? And he was the guy who won through all the people who participated in the competition, right?
Yeah, that was a very good exercise because the client is not there to tell you what to do. Still, you have to do justice for what they want. So we had his works with us, so which we analyzed, made and created wonderful forms. I'm sure he would have loved.
Oh yeah, I love that entire thing. So since time is pressing, I'll just ask one or two more questions. So how do people reach you, Rajat? I think you can go to recrokardo.com.
Yes.
That's how.
So we have a website, recrokardo.com, and then we have a Facebook page that is there, and Instagram page also. We are also working with 3 brands. I was telling you.
Yeah, there was something honing your own skills also there.
Yeah. So one is RECRO KARDO that we're heading. Then I'm also working with the Design Consortium as a senior associate partner. And then we're working on DEX Collective, which is very close to my heart. It's called Design Experience Collective, where we are trying to work with helping people learn to experience and create design, both from the design community as well as people who experience it. So how to gain more richness out of that experience. So we're creating programs for it, and we'll be coming out with them soon.
Something that inspires you that you would like to leave our viewers with. What is that one thing?
I think everything that we do create, we are part of, we should always have the possibility of connecting to a source which is outside us. Some people call it divine, they call it happiness and love. And through architecture, if we are able to achieve it, no matter what you are designing, from small to big scale, that is what I think our purpose is to achieve.
Thank you so much for being with us here in Crown Plaza. I hope you love this location as well. And I'll be parting with a gift with you, sponsored by All My Crafts, our gift sponsor, to have a look at that. Thank you so much for being with us over here. See you next week again with a round of 2 more guests who will inspire us further on our journey. Thank you.